All right. Well then, hello everyone, and welcome to our first admitted student panel for the class of 2026. We're super excited that you all could join us today. So my name is Elizabeth, and I am a senior this year at SLU, which feels crazy to say, but I'm double majoring in political science and communication, and I'm also a communication intern in the Office of Admission. And I'm also joined by Juliana, who is my fellow communication intern, and she's going to be helping us monitor that Q&A and answer questions, as well as our lovely ambassador team, who will be our panelists. And I'm going to turn it over to them in a second to introduce themselves. But first, I just want to quickly point out that this webinar has a really cool function with the Q&A function. So instead of maybe putting your questions in the chat to everyone, we would really prefer if you put them in that Q&A instead, just so we can keep track of them easier. But yeah, I'm going to turn it over to our ambassadors. The theme of today's panel is life on campus, so any questions you can think of relating to that. But I will let them go ahead and start introducing themselves. So we'll go Kyle, Sierra, and then Amanda.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Kyle Deacon. Like Elizabeth and Juliana, I am a senior. I study nutrition and dietetics. I'm from the great state of Cincinnati, Ohio. So go Bengals. Who Dey next Sunday. Despite that, I'm a student I'm a student ambassador in the Office of Admission, and some things I do kind of outside of just school on campus. I'm involved in fraternity and sorority life. I have this really cool research thing going with a professor of mine, and I do some different community service opportunities kind of on and around campus. So that's it for me.
So my name is Sierra. Like the previous members, I'm also a senior. I'm majoring in investigative and medical sciences with a minor in psychology on the pre-med track. I'm originally from Belleville, Illinois, so I'm like 30 minutes away from St. Louis here. And on campus, I'm involved in Alpha Phi Omega, which is our service fraternity. And I'm a co-chair of Billiken Bounty, which is our student-led food pantry. So it's great to be here.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I am a sophomore studying aerospace engineering with a minor in American Studies. I am also an ambassador for the Office of Admission. Couple other things I'm involved in. I'm involved in the American Institute for Aeronautics and Astronautics. I am involved in Student Stakes, which is like our kind of cheer group at all of our SLU sporting events. And then I'm also part of the Space System Research Lab, which is a student design group that's a part of my college that builds satellites and actually like sends them to space, which is really cool. And I forgot to say this earlier, but I am from Denton, Missouri, which is about just under an hour from St. Louis University.
All right, awesome. So we'll go ahead and get started with some of the questions that have been put in the Q&A. So the first question is, what are learning communities, and is there a particular process to join one? And I will go ahead and give that question to Sierra.
So learning communities are essentially ways for first-year students to live in community with other students that are either in the same major or have similar interests to them. So we have ones devoted specifically for, let's say life sciences, health sciences, business, engineering. And we also have ones more for across all kinds of majors for diversity and global citizenship, our honors one that's associated with our honors program, leaders for social change, all those kinds of things. So I think there's about 9 in total. So you can look at all of them on our website. There's a whole bunch of varieties of them, and you can kind of see which ones are specifically based around different things. So my freshman year, I came in thinking that I wanted to be a part of a learning community, so I did. So on my housing contract, you just have to write which one that you want to be a part of. And all of them are free to apply to. You don't have to have any like separate application except for the honors one, where you do have to be part of the honors program, sorry. And the MICA learning community, which is our service and kind of social justice learning community. So if you're into that kind of stuff, that might be for you. It does require a smaller application with that, but no big deal. But either way, the rest of them are pretty much free to join. So I was part of the life sciences learning community, and that one is located in Reinert Hall. So it's another thing with learning communities, they are associated with specific buildings. So you can, again, look at all that on our website. And so then I was living with other students that were taking classes in like biology, chemistry. Everyone on my floor is pretty much leaving to go to classes at the same time. We all had tests at the same time, so it worked out great. And you also have peer mentors and tutors that live on the floor with you with that specific kind of learning community where, you're kind of more academic based. So that was a really helpful thing for me. I, was able to have those built-in study groups and had people on my floor and in my room that I lived with that were, all kind of studying at the same time. So it's a really great thing for a lot of people. Definitely no pressure to get involved in it, though. I think only about 50% of our students do. So if you don't want to, you can totally do that as well. You could just live in any building that you would like. But I think it's a really great option for students that are looking for that kind of community feel right when they step foot on campus.
All right, awesome. So the other question that we had submitted at the beginning is, what is it like being a first year moving on campus? And what do you all do on the weekends? Which is sort of a two-part question. I'll go ahead and give that question to Amanda.
All right, so speaking to like moving in first, it's super fun. As a first year student, you have like fall orientation, which you're going to be led by our Oriflam leaders, and they're going to kind of show you the ropes at SLU. You get just around a week or so where they're going to kind of go through your schedule. They'll show you kind of the ropes on where to eat, what to do, things like that. And then kind of once you're on campus, then you start like figuring out what you want to do, like personally, meeting new people, things like that. And then personally for me, like on the weekends, I love going to SLU sporting events. Like I said earlier, I'm part of slu.edu. So last fall, I was going to a lot of soccer games. Now I'm going to a lot of basketball games. I also like to go and find different things to eat around St. Louis. So I like to go out with friends and we'll go find like kind of what we want to eat for that day, and we'll discuss it. We kind of have a list of what we want to do and where we want to go. So it's pretty fun. Lots to do in St. Louis. So it's great.
All right, awesome. The next question that we had, Anna submitted, what do you all know about how well SLU handles allergies? I have celiac disease and I've seen negative reviews about cross-contamination, and she's worried that she won't have anything safe to eat. So I'll go ahead and give that question to Kyle.
Sure. Hooray, a nutrition and dietetics question. So I'm going to preface this by saying I personally don't have any experiences with food allergies or intolerances. So this is not from mine, it's just more so about the resources that SLU has to offer. First off, the thing that immediately comes to mind is we have, I forget the name of it. I haven't been to Granite forever. Amanda, what is it? The right when you walk in, it's not Fresh Gatherings.
Simple servings.
Simple servings. Thank you. So Simple Servings is our allergy-friendly kitchen. Accommodates for the 8 most common food allergens. It's been 2 years since I studied it, so I forget them off the top of my head, but those ones. They have a separate kitchen, separate dishwasher and everything, dividing them. So at least from that station, the idea is that cross-contamination risk is as mitigated as it possibly could. The other exciting fact I have to share, one of my colleagues, actually, we have a dietitian on staff that works with Dine SLU. For those that are unaware, essentially it's just an expert in food and nutrition that can help you with meal planning, attitudes towards eating, or just finding different options for you to enjoy food around campus. You're welcome to schedule a consultation with her. It's completely free and included in, student tuition and student life. And outside of that, I mean, in terms of just broad options all around campus, we have so many things outside of just your typical dining hall food. We have smoothies, we have sushi, we have, Mediterranean food or Mexican food or barbecue mac and cheese, like a billion different things that you would be interested in trying. You're not always just confined to eating the same area. So I hope that helps. If you want more information, we can help you get in contact with SLU's dietitian if you find that would be an area of concern.
All right, awesome. So the next question that we had submitted is, after you get accepted, is there a specific deadline where you have to enroll to SLU? Because I got accepted into other universities as well. And I'll go ahead and give that question to Sierra.
So in short, yes, we do have a deadline. So if you are thinking of going to SLU, and if you want to submit your housing contract, the priority deadline for that would be May 1st. So kind of keep that in mind. That's also a big deadline for a lot of universities for like choosing where you want to go for the fall. So that's kind of a big thing. But in terms of admission, if you think a little bit later on in the year, like you kind of want to change your mind, we are on a rolling admission basis after the regular decision deadline, which I'm not sure. I'm sure it's in like a couple months. So after a certain point, we do, kind of go over to that admission where, as your applications come in, we just kind of consider it. So for the most part, I would look out for the May 1st deadline.
All right, great. The next question that was submitted is, can you all discuss campus security? So I'm going to give that question to Amanda.
Yeah, so I know like for a lot of people, even myself, like I didn't come from like I didn't live in like a bigger like city. I lived kind of in a rural area. So security is definitely something like a lot of people have some concerns about. Obviously, you're living in a city, so there are going to be like different things that come with that. But SLU does a great job in making sure that we are safe on campus and off campus. So there's a couple of different things in place to make sure that happens. So the first thing is just going to be our Department of Public Safety, also known as DPS. You'll see DPS officers driving around campus, biking around campus, walking around campus. You see them all the time. And so eventually it'll be like, they're kind of like familiar faces around campus. We also have SLU Ride, also known as SLUBER. If you are in need of an escort somewhere, so if you're at the library really late and you just want someone to like walk you back to your residence hall, you can just call them and they'll walk you back. You can get a ride from them within like 1 mile radius of campus. So if you're at a grocery store and you either don't want to walk back or like you just want to ride back to campus, you can call them for that. We also have our blue light system. So there's going to be kind of blue lights around campus. You press the button on them if you feel like you're unsafe at the moment, or if you see something or are just uncomfortable, you can just press that, and one of our Department of Public Safety officers will be there in like 90 seconds. So it's a really great opportunity, well, not opportunity, but like a really great system that we have in place if you do feel uncomfortable. And then we also have our SLU alerts. So that's going to be for both students and parents can opt into it as well. So you'll get, if something happens on or around campus, you'll get a phone call. If you don't answer the phone, you'll get a voicemail. You'll also get emails about it as well. And it basically just tells you what's going on as soon as like SLU knows what's going on. And then they'll kind of give you like timely updates, they call them. So, you know, like, okay, maybe avoid this area for a little bit. And then they'll tell you like, oh, okay, all clear, resume your normal activities, things like that. The one that sticks out to me most was when there was a dumpster fire outside my residence hall over Easter break last spring. Usually it's just things like that where SLU just wants you to know what's going on. And yeah, they're really good about campus safety. And if you have any questions, just let us know.
All right, amazing. So another question that was submitted says, as a prospective pre-med student, I want to ask how the university helps you with finding shadowing, research, and volunteering opportunities. And I'll go ahead and give that question to Sierra.
So that is a great question. So SLU actually has its own pre-health program and office associated with that. So they have their own space, what we call Verhagen Hall, and they have a ton of really great resources for us. So right off the bat, they have 2 or 3 kind of counselors that help you throughout the process if you feel it'd be more helpful to meet with somebody to kind of chat with that kind of stuff. And then they also have like a monthly newsletter. They have meetings every month. And so you get emails from them constantly. So if you put on your application that you want to be a pre-med student, they will put you into this pre-health program, and you'll have access to like our page specifically on our learning management system, which in our case, it's Canvas. So you have your own page that you can research all different kinds of research opportunities, shadowing opportunities. They have helpful resources for writing applications and personal statements. Literally anything you can think of as during your part, you know, of these 4 years as you're like preparing your application to become a good applicant. They have tons of those things that you can access at any time on the website. But a lot of students decide to meet with some of the counselors. So I got to meet with one about a year or so ago, just over Zoom, and just kind of was asking about gap year options and kind of the process for that, especially during COVID, how to go about finding shadowing experiences. And they're very knowledgeable. So it's very helpful to meet with them because there was nowhere for me to go else. You know, everybody else was asking the same questions. So it's helpful to hear from those people who are working in the office with other kinds of admission committees, like for our SLU School of Medicine, and for the committee that kind of works for all that kind of stuff for SLU as an undergrad institution. So they have tons of resources here, and they'll help you out throughout the way. It does kind of take a little bit of discipline to reach out for that information if you do, you know, find yourself a little bit lost, to go to some of those meetings because they are super helpful. They'll have presenters from, you know, different kinds of organizations around the St. Louis community, different hospitals, different researchers, just to present all these opportunities in case you are, you know, unsure of what other options are out there, or if you just need a little bit more help along the way.
All right, awesome. So our next question is how long is the commute between North and South Campus? And I'll go ahead and give that question to Kyle.
Sure. Very briefly, it's about 3/4 of a mile to a mile, depending on where you're headed from North Campus and where you're headed from South Campus. Just to draw a distinction, the reason we have these two different campuses is because a lot of the materials that are needed for a student like myself or Sierra or another nursing student, say like cadaver labs or phlebotomy things or DEXA scans or all these cool, neat machines that they only have in your hospitals. Those we don't have those in everyday classrooms, so we actually put them much closer to all the health sciences resources. There's a shuttle that runs at 15-minute increments. It picks you up outside of our student center and drops you right off in front of the building. It takes about 15 minutes each way. So honestly, as long as you budget 20 minutes between classes, you'll be completely okay. Definitely not a problem to commute back and forth.
All right, incredible. The next question we have is, does SLU have kitchens/facilities in certain dorms so students can cook their own meals? And I'll give that question to Amanda.
Yeah, so all of our residence halls have kitchen, chapel, like lounge and study spaces. So like wherever you are living on campus, you will have your own kitchen. So for example, I live in Grand Hall right now. So every other floor in Grand has a kitchen, and all the floors that don't have kitchens have a laundry room. And so like every 2 floors share. So 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So like I have a kitchen on my floor right now. My roommate and I made brownies last night. So you definitely will have places to cook. Obviously, if you are in one of our on-campus apartments, you'll also have your own kitchen there too. So if you are the kind of person who wants to cook a lot of your meals, you definitely will have the opportunity.
All right, great. So our next question is, what's a typical day like for first-year students? So I'll go ahead and give that question to Sierra.
This is also a great question. So for first year students, I feel like, going off of after your first week of activities, because that is a very busy time. And that's when you're kind of doing this whole onboarding process. You'll be with Oriflame leaders the whole day for the most part, or at least have some group meetings. So after that process, when you kind of start with classes and stuff, I would say a lot of freshmen will probably choose classes starting at either 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. just to kind of get those out of the way. And sometimes you don't have an option, especially for me. I was in a lot of like big lecture halls for biology and chemistry lectures and all that kind of stuff. So those were offered in the mornings. And then normally in the afternoons, I would have a lab. I guess I'm not the best person to ask for this because I was in 18 credit hours my first semester. So it was a quite busy gal. And I was in classes. I was in 3 labs that semester. So that was a great time. And so I would say for the most part, I was in class around 4 hours a day. And with weird gaps, like a lot of times around lunchtime, I would have a 2-hour gap or so that we would go down to Grand, we would kind of hang out for a bit. If I had some extra time, I would stop by the library and just sit down on the second floor and have a really chill kind of study session with some of my friends in between. And then after that, in the evening, I would normally go to work. And then if I was feeling up to it in the evening, I would maybe do some more homework and stuff. But for the most part, it was just kind of like awkward spaces in between my classes. So I would say for the most part, that's a pretty standard schedule. Most people will have 2-3 classes a day and be in class for around like 4 to 5 hours, I would say. So the rest of that time is kind of up for you to, devote to classes, clubs, hanging out with your friends, and then devoting your time to studying. So it really is what you make of it, but it does vary widely based on what program you're in and what kinds of classes you're in. So my first year was very chaotic, but other people don't have that experience.
All right, great. So the next question is, what is the difference between swipe and flex points? I just can't understand how it works. So I will go ahead and give that question to Amanda.
Yes, I had the same question before I moved in. So your basic like swipes that are not flex, those are going to be used specifically at the dining hall or through what we call our meal exchange option. So at the dining hall, well, as a first year student, you're going to have like your all access meal plan. So it's going to be unlimited swipes. So you can go to the dining hall as many times as you want. And you just walk in, you swipe your card, and then you can eat as much as you want while you're there. The meal exchange option is going to be, instead of using flex at other places on campus like Starbucks, Panera, the Bill Grill, Qdoba, things like that, you're you're going to be able to go and use a meal swipe, so one of your unlimited swipes, and you can get like certain foods. So if you go to the Bill Grill, you can get a burger and fries, or chicken strips, or a quesadilla. At QW, you can get like a bowl. So you are able to use those unlimited swipes other places. Flex are going to be kind of just a preloaded money, so almost like a debit card where it's connected to your student account, and you can use Flex to buy things like Starbucks, Einstein's. You can go to like the convenience stores on campus. So it's going to be just kind of money where there's like a set, like you start at like a certain number, so say around $250 per semester, and you can use that and spend it more places on campus that like aren't the dining hall, if that makes sense. But yeah.
All right, great. So the next question we have are, what are some pressures / obstacles you have as a college student? And I'm gonna give that question to Kyle.
That's a phenomenal question. We always love to talk about the fun parts of college because those are the fun parts, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm sure every one of us in the panel can tell you it's also an extremely stressful times at points because, you know, it is hard. It's the hardest education I've ever received thus far. I think the number one thing almost anybody I meet says is always time management, just because, as Sierra mentioned, like you can, you know, you only might be in class for 3 or 4 hours a day, but you can fill that time with, you know, anything, whether it's playing video games with your friends, going to the gym, or throwing yourself into the books at the library. And striking whatever balance is right for you it's not the easiest thing in the world. And it's going to take a lot of time to develop. And to be completely honest, my inner balance is still developing. But it's something that you consistently work on and consistently get better. And knowing that you're surrounded by such an amazing support system of your friends, your peers, and the innumerable amount of resources we have at your disposal, it makes the transition a lot easier. I think time management is definitely the big one. And then just finding out the type of person you want to become. There are so many different opportunities and ways to throw yourself in different involvements here. And, you know, picking and choosing between maybe the top 3 or 4 or 5 that you really want to devote your time to can be challenging. But, you know, the act of putting yourself towards a higher good it's really empowering. So I'm excited for you all.
All right, great. So the next question is kind of an exciting one. What is one thing you all don't like about SLU? So I'm going to throw that question to Sierra.
Okay, so someone actually pointed this out to me before, and once they said it, it just kind of stuck with me. So the way that our campus is set up, it just seems like anywhere you walk to, it seems like you're walking uphill. And so a lot of times whenever it's raining really hard in St. Louis, which, you know, is pretty much whenever because weather here is pretty crazy, when it's like monsooning, it is like flowing down and you can't really walk around very well. And the other day when we had a snow day, people were literally sledding down West Pine. Like, I don't know in which direction, but I'm sure it's downhill either way, like I swear. So when you're walking around to your classes, like you go to all your classes, you're just dead. Like it seems like it's a flat ground. It's very deceiving. And as you're walking around to your classes, it'll kill you. But I promise you our campus really isn't that big. But if you are just happen to have classes at either end of campus and you're walking, especially when it's bad weather, it'll hit you and you'll feel it and it'll not be fun.
All right, great. Okay, so the next question is, what is the teacher-student ratio? They said they're a physical therapy student and they want to know how big and small the class is. So I'm gonna give that question to Amanda.
Yeah, so obviously our like ratios will vary between like different colleges and what program you're in. But overall at SLU, our student faculty ratio is going to be about 9-to-1, so 9 students per 1 faculty member. But also about 42% of our classes are going to be under 20 students. That being said, if you're looking at physical therapy, you're going to have a lot of gen ed classes, so chem, bio, things like that, and those are going to be a little bit higher. But like, don't worry if you're in a class with a lot of people, because there's going to be a lot of people to study with, but also your professor will have office hours and you'll have teaching assistants to help you through as well. And if you think that the ratio is like too high for you in that specific class, there's also the tutoring center to like help you out there as well. So if you're like looking for more one-on-one, go to those office hours, but also look into other resources on campus too, because there are a lot of them.
All right, great. So the next question is, roughly what % of students are practicing Catholics? And is it easy to find Bible studies and a faith community? So you may not know the stat off the top of your head, but I'm going to throw that question to Kyle, and we can find the more specific numbers in the chat.
Sure. So I think if it's safe to throw out there, I want to say it's roughly 50-50. Do we agree-ish? Is that okay? We'll see. Might be a little bit different there. I personally am Catholic. I went to a Catholic Jesuit high school. I really enjoy the way that St. Louis kind of approaches Catholicism because it's there if you want it, and it's an opportunity to deepen your relationship, but it's certainly not a necessary part of your education. And I think given the autonomy to choose just how involved you're going to get, makes it a lot more powerful, makes it a lot more of a personal decision. Rather than being shaken up at 9 a.m. for mass, choosing to go on your own autonomy and volition, it makes it a lot more of a meaningful experience. As for, study groups and Bible groups, my experience within those is relatively limited just because I was seeking out other opportunities. But my roommate and best friend was a theology major, so he ran like 3 different Bible studies, really cool ones about, there are things called Upper Room, InterVarsity. We even have our own, it's essentially like a Christian fraternity and sorority life. Chi Alpha, I believe, is the name of it. So there's an innumerable amount of opportunities to involve yourself, not just in Catholicism, but really any religious organization you wish to do here. I'm a big fan of being involved, so I obviously, recommend it and can't say it enough, but it's fun to go choose your own adventure.
All right, awesome. So another question that was submitted is, how should you decide where to live on campus? And I'm gonna give that question to Sierra.
So with the way that our housing is set up, it is a first come, first served basis, but we don't have any like freshman housing necessarily. So all of our students get the opportunity to choose any building that they would want. Aside from the apartments though, that is restricted to just the juniors and seniors, except for Marquette, which does go down to sophomores occasionally. But anyway, seniority does come into play for a lot of that. And so for all of our different residence halls, you kind of have to take into account, what room style you want to look for, what bathroom style you're wanting, the learning community, if that applies, all that kind of stuff. So for me going into my process, I was really looking for the learning community thing, like I was talking about before, and the bathroom style. So I really wanted a private bathroom. I thought that that would fit me best because I'm a very clean person, kind of a control freak around it. So I was really looking for that kind of experience. So Reinert were kind of best of both worlds. It had that kind of opportunity to live in basically an entire building of other people that are in health sciences. So it's a great experience. We all have that kind of like shared experience of all going through the same classes. It's just a huge, group of people that are all, associated with the same thing. So it's great. And then you all get your own private bathroom. So you can't get any better than that. So all of us essentially just, we go to the same classes together, we come home, and then we have our own bathrooms and everything is great. But if you think that you're somebody that's like, I'm not really big into cleaning, community bathrooms are a really great option. So not only do you not have to clean, the toilet paper is taken care of, you don't have to buy any extra that stuff, it is all taken care of. So that is a really great option for students that, maybe aren't wanting that kind of situation and, maybe want a more communal style feel. So more students will probably get to know each other better because, as you can probably imagine, by sharing a bathroom with everybody on your floor every morning, you get to know your neighbors pretty close. And so that was not personally my experience. So if you're somebody that really likes a private bathroom style, or you have one right now and you think that you would love that, for sure, go for it. If you want to kind of open your mind and your experiences a little bit, I think communal style would be a really great option as well.
All right. So Amanda, I know you kind of touched on this earlier when talking about the student-teacher ratio, but another question that got submitted is, what are options for tutoring or getting help with your classes?
Yes, I have had a lot of experience, well, a fair amount of experience with getting help with certain classes. I have a major that's very like math and physics based. So like when I'm taking like my math classes, the first thing I'll do is email my professor and see if there's time to like meet with my professor, things like that. And if I meet with my professor and still I'm slightly confused, then I'll either reach out to TA or go to the tutoring center. So the tutoring center at SLU is a really, really great resource because they can help you with anything from like homework to helping with like a single concept you just cannot understand, to like just like study prep and giving you like, oh, try this problem, see how you can do it, how do you work through this. and giving you recommendations on how to study for certain classes, because our tutors are tutoring for classes that they have taken and that they have done well in. So you're not going to get a tutor for like chemistry who's never taken chemistry before. That like wouldn't make sense. So you're going to be able to like find those resources really easily, because all it take, like you just go on to like SLU's website and Google like tutoring, and you'll have all their contact information right there at your fingertips. And if you need like a tutoring for like a paper, you can go straight to the writing center, and you can set up like a one-on-one meeting, and they'll help you with your outline, with your thesis, with some peer editing, things like that. So there's like what I would do, just go professor, TA, and then tutoring center, or professor, tutoring center, TA. But that professor, like our professors here at SLU are really great about helping students one-on-one if necessary. So if you feel like I really just need some one-on-one time with my professor, send them a quick email, list a couple times that you are free, and ask, are you available at any of these times? If not, when is a good time to meet with you? And that's kind of the one thing that I would always recommend doing.
All right, great. So another question that was submitted is, are there safe places in walking distance of SLU to go for a run or a bike ride? Also, I heard there's a bike path that goes through SLU. Is the path safe to run on alone? And I'll give that question to Kyle.
I am not a runner. But my friends are. Yes, there is a bike path that goes through SLU. It snakes kind of around our athletic campus by Chaffetz Arena, where you probably saw SLU beat Dayton yesterday. It's really pretty. It's also my favorite hammocking spot, so I walk over there rather than run. And then if you're looking for other places outside and around campus, you are in luck, because we are like a mile and a half away from the largest urban park in the United States, Forest Park. Pretty much free. Everything is there. There's a free art museum. A bunch of people went sledding in the park when we had a bunch of snow earlier this week. They do half marathons all the time through there. There's Food Truck Friday. Like, if you are at all interested in any outdoor activity, or running, jogging, biking, kayaking, even whatever it is, Forest Park is, steps away from you.
All right, great. So the next question is, are new transfer students allowed to have cars on campus? If so, how much is the parking permit, and how do we get one? And I'm gonna give that question to Sierra.
So parking for all students is not free. It's open. So you can essentially bring your car, whatever grade you are. If you're a freshman through senior, whatever, everyone can bring their car. For the parking situation, though, you do get different levels of passes, and all of that is available to you through your MySLU portal under the parking kind of app. And so you can manage your different parking permits. You can add and remove vehicles to that as well. And so that if you have like multiple vehicles, but you only have one pass, whatever, or if you want to share one, something like that, you can always look at it and manage all of that through your MySLU portal. In terms of prices and everything, I believe the cheapest one is about $350 a semester. So it's a little pricey, but if you do want to, access more of the lots on campus, because each one gives you different access to different lots, different parking garages, you can look at all that. I think the details are on our website as well. But if you guys have access to the portal, you can always kind of browse those and see what different options might work best for you. I will say it took me up until this point in my second semester of my senior year to bring a car on campus, because before I had super kind friends that either drove me around, or I was able to make my way around using the free public transportation that SLU has provided to us throughout the city of St. Louis. So if you want to bring a car, you totally can. You can access that through the suite if you want to see that, but you definitely don't need to if you don't want.
All right, so I think the next two questions kind of go together, so I'm gonna mash them into one. And I know we kind of already talked about dining, but it's like never bad to continue to reiterate how it works. But someone asked, does swipes only work in Grand Dining Hall and Flex in other halls, or can you use swipes in other dining halls? And then the question after that kind of goes with it. My parents told me about some universities having meal cards for each student, like cards with a certain limit. Do we have that at SLU? So I'm going to give both those questions to Amanda.
Alrighty, so swipes. So the majority of your swipe usage will be in Grand Dining Hall, which is kind of like our main, if only like formal dining hall on campus. So that's going to be kind of the buffet style. You swipe in with your card, and then you just walk and eat whatever you want. And then like your flex are going to be what you're going to use like other places on campus, but you can use swipes at other places at certain times of day. A lot of times you have like dinner meal exchanges, and that's when you can use those unlimited swipes at other places on campus. With the meal card, so your like meal card, quote unquote, is going to be your student ID. That's going to be what connects you to your meal swipes and your flex. If you run out of flex, you can always add more. So there technically isn't a limit unless you're not willing to like add on to it. But usually there's plenty of flex for you to use throughout the semester because it is it reloads itself each semester. But yeah, so like a meal card is going to be just your student ID that you're just going to swipe at different places on campus.
All right, great. So then the next question is, how is the diversity on campus? And I'm gonna give that question to Sierra.
So when we talk about diversity, we always like to kind of discriminate the different kind of types of diversity. So aside from the traditional, racial, cultural diversity, you also have to take into consideration socioeconomic background and maybe faith, language, all those kinds of things. So when you consider all of that, I think SLU does a really great job of bringing in a very diverse group of people from all different kinds of backgrounds, all different kinds of social statuses, religions, faiths, backgrounds, all that kind of stuff. So it is really great to see in all of your classes and the clubs and organizations that you are in, that you can see that in the classroom through the people that you talk to, and in also the way that SLU kind of showcases that. So we do have our own like diversity and inclusion office that puts on an Atlas Week kind of celebration. So I think that'll be coming up later in the spring. And essentially the whole week they do a whole bunch of different events for the different cultural groups that we have on campus. So if you were wanting to join those as well, we have ones for like Asian American Student Association, Korean Student Association, Filipino, Black Student Association. Like we have literally every culture you could probably think of, the major ones. We have a cultural group associated with that. But if you aren't of those racial backgrounds, you could fully and totally join those groups as well. They love having people being a part of it. They just love to eat food and do dances, all that kind of like stuff. So they're a super fun thing to be a part of, and they do a whole bunch of different performances throughout the year at different student events and at the Atlas Week that I was telling you about. So SLU does a really great job, I think, of showcasing that and kind of celebrating those different culturals and diversity backgrounds in the different student populations that we have. So as a Filipino student myself, it is really great to see other students like me and other students from different backgrounds that I even get to learn from them in all my classes and all the involvement that I'm in as well.
All right, amazing. So we are actually going to end up wrapping this panel up at around 4:50. So we have about 13 more minutes left in answering questions. If we don't end up getting to a question that you asked, you can always reach out to the Office of Admission later. But just to do a quick promotion, which I'll also plug at the end, we are going to be doing more of these throughout the semester. So feel free to keep coming back to these admitted student panels to get all your questions answered. But for now, we'll jump back into it. So another question that was asked is, how about gyms and workout places? So what are gyms and workout places like at SLU? You can talk about the Simon Rec Center, and I'm going to go ahead and throw that to Kyle.
Sure. So we do have our summer recreation center. It's really conveniently located. It's like right in the smack dab middle of campus, super close to their dining hall. And it is enormous. They have 6 full-size basketball courts. We have an almost Olympic-sized swimming pool, hot tubs, saunas, which are my personal favorite, an indoor running track. We have 2 different levels of workout rooms. We have breakout rooms on the side. We do free exercise classes almost every day. So if you're interested in CrossFit or yoga or cycling, whatever it may be, you have an opportunity to take some of those classes with your friends for free. And outside of that, we also have a lot of different intramural or club sports. So if you're the competitive type, you can get involved in club sports or upper echelon intramural sports. Or if you're like me and you're not very athletic and you're just there to have some fun, you can hang out with your friends and play t-ball or floor hockey or whatever it is that you're interested in. That's also open pretty much, I think it's open like 16 hours a day. It's open from like 6 to 11. So unless you're wanting to work out at the dead of night and at 3 in the morning, you'll probably have time to go in.
All right, great. So the next question is, how is SLU dealing with COVID? So I'm going to go ahead and give that question to Amanda.
Yeah. SLU has been dealing with COVID for two and a half years now, like a while. And I started my freshman year, the fall of 2020. So my entire college career, like experience has been during COVID. And it has been different. Like the rules and regulations and everything have been different each semester. So we don't really know what like next fall is going to look like or next spring. But currently, like when we moved in the spring, we got COVID tested. SLU sent every student a COVID test. And they also testing on campus if like your test didn't come in time, things like that. There is, if you do like get COVID, you can SLU has like quarantine housing that you can go in quarantine. They have Zoom, like your classes can be on Zoom if you need them to be, things like that. But yeah, so there's different things. We are requiring masks on campus right now, but really it just depends because like everything's changing. We have like vaccine requirements on campus. You can get exemptions if you need to. But it's really nice because you can, if you like aren't feeling well, you can just contact our like student health office and they can get you in for a COVID test. You can actually just walk into the rec center and get tested for COVID if you're just concerned about it, or if you're like, oh, I might go home for the weekend, I just want to get a quick test just to make sure. And then you can just walk in and do that for free. You can also get COVID vaccinations on campus or around campus. So SLU has a lot going on. So it's also researching vaccines, things like that as well. So if you're interested in like epidemiology, SLU's really doing that well right now. So it's always changing, but right now SLU's doing as much as they can to make sure we have like as normal experiences on campus as possible. So we're still able to like have classes in person. We're still able to like meet with different organizations, things like that. Yeah, it's always changing, but it's not like restricting our way of life on campus too terribly much. So hope that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So the next question is, how does roommate selection work at SLU? And I'll give that question to Sierra.
Yeah, so there's actually lots of different ways that you can choose to have your roommate. The first and probably most basic one is if you know someone from your high school or you met them along the way and you're like, hey, we should room. On your housing contract, you can just put in their student ID number and then you guys will get paired up together. So that's probably a pretty simple way. But if you were like me and you didn't really know anybody that was coming to SLU, you could also go the random route. So on your housing contract, you have a short little survey thing that you fill out about your personal lifestyle habits of what time you like to wake up and go to bed and how you like your space, if you want to be more a social or a study space. And that way, based on your responses, when you do get paired up with your random roommate, you'll also get paired up with somebody that has similar responses. So I had two totally random roommates in my freshman year, ended up working out just fine for me. Our schedules worked out well together. We pretty much went to sleep at the same time. So it wasn't like any kind of weird overlap because it would be very difficult to live with somebody that, stayed up all night because I'm not a night owl. So I think SLU does a really great job of trying to match people with other people that would be similar to them in terms of lifestyle, even if you are going in, you're like, I know nobody. But if you're looking for roommates currently, we also have through the MySLU app as well. We have like a portal called RoomSync, I believe, which is essentially like a roommate dating service. So if you make your own application, you can kind of make a little profile and you can be discoverable on there and people can look at like your interests, what things you like to do. And then maybe you could match it up with somebody like that. And then you match, and then it's a match made in heaven. It's beautiful. So you have that option as well. And then through our Instagram and Facebook pages, as Elizabeth was talking about at the beginning of the session, it's also a really great way to meet people on the Instagram. They'll show off different students of the incoming classes and being like, hey, this person said they like this thing. If you also like this thing, you should reach out to them. And on the Facebook page, people will do that as well and being like, hey, my name is this, whatever, these are my cool cats. If you like cats too, just send me a message and then you can get matched up and it might work out really well for you. So there's lots of different ways, but I think it's really up to your own decision. If you want to do the extra work and kind of like reach out and find somebody that might work best with you, you can do that through our social media pages, or you can just go random and it'll work out perfectly fine.
All right, this is just a quick follow-up to that question, Sierra, so I'll throw it back to you. But are they required to have a roommate?
Yes, no, depends on what your option is. So if you choose to go in as a private room in the residence halls that do offer private rooms, you don't have to have a roommate. It is a different like price associated with that housing option, as are each one of our different residence halls. All the pricing is different depending on, where you get placed, but it just depends. So if you go in and you're like, I don't want to have a roommate, you can select a private option. You won't get placed with a roommate. But if you're like, I do want to have a roommate, then you can get placed in like Grand and Spring, where you have like a quad situation, you share a room with one person. Or in Reiner, we have a situation where you have two roommates. So it just kind of depends. But if you do want a private option, you don't have to have a roommate. So just wanted to make that correction.
Yeah, amazing. So yeah, for those of you that live in those single spaces, a lot of those quad setups, specifically, and like the Grand and Spring residence halls, you don't have a direct roommate, but you'll have a suite mate, which means you'll like share a bathroom with them. So you're not required to have one, especially if you get placed in one of those rooms. But that's just the distinction there. All right, so it looks like we don't have any other questions in the chat, but we had a lot of really great questions. So thank you all for your engagement. But I'm gonna go ahead and actually turn it over to our ambassadors, and they're each going to talk about just why they chose SLU, why they decided to come here. So we'll go in the order that we introduced ourselves in the beginning, so we can go Kyle, Sierra, Amanda.
Sure. Phenomenal question. I guess why SLU, why not? Which is probably not the answer you wanted to hear, but ultimately, like, it comes down to your decision. And this may be a little bit unpopular, but I think that the out of classroom experiences you're going to have during your time in college are far more impactful and valuable than the in-classroom experiences. Because at the end of the day, you can get a bachelor's degree wherever. And certainly that's not discrediting SLU's academics. We're one of the top performing institutions in the country. And that's a big reason I wanted to come here. But why I stay here and why I really enjoy advocating for the university in positions like this is because the experiences I've had outside the classroom, whether they be with other professors, with random faculty members, with some of my best friends that I live across the country and I never would have met unless I came here, people that have truly changed my life in unforgettable ways. Those interactions are why I chose SLU, because I had this sense in like the pit of my stomach that like this was going to be the place where I'm going to become the most full version of myself. And I haven't been anywhere else, but I think that's absolutely true. I can't imagine what my life would be like if I went to any other university. And I think that's entirely because the culture at SLU, the second you walk on campus, it's a palpable feeling. It feels like the campus is giving you a hug, like it wants you to belong there. And I fell for it and they got me, and I've loved every second of it for the last 4 years.
I actually have a very similar experience and answer as Kyle does. So like what Kyle was saying, I think the community here at SLU is something very special and something that kind of chose me, if you will, as cheesy as it is. So when I was doing my college search process and I was touring other colleges, reaching out to their, admission counselors, those kinds of things, and through all those different interactions, it was like, oh, okay, you get to get a sense of, what the spirit of that specific university is like. And it varies, depending on where you're looking, if you're looking really prestigious schools or, just average state schools. And I noticed throughout the process of me looking at SLU, and as I was coming for tours and scholarship weekends and different kinds of interactions and events that I went and visited during my senior year, it just seemed like everybody at SLU wanted me to be here, that they chose me. And at other schools, it was very much of like you would be so lucky to go here, like only so many students get accepted each year, like our, acceptance rate is so low. But you don't really find that at places, SLU specifically, because I do go here, where, it's kind of the sense that we would be so lucky to have you on our campus. Like, we want you to be a part of this community, and we want you to build yourself up in the best possible way and become the best version of yourself. So that was something that was really impactful for me. And I realized, I don't want to be at a school where I'm kind of drowned out and I'm just another number, another statistic for them to talk about, their really great rates, their incoming classes. Like, I wanted to be somebody that the school invested in, that they, really cared about, and they wanted to see me individually have a really great future. And I found that at SLU, through my career, through my professional development, through my spiritual development, in every possible way, SLU has been able to choose me.
Yeah, I think for the sake of not being as repetitive as possible, I think if you ask a lot of SLU students, or the majority of SLU students, one of the things that they're always going to say is the community here at SLU is just so special. And I definitely agree with that. But I also I really think that for me, the community made SLU feel like home. Because you would visit other schools, and like Sierra said, it was always, oh, you'd be lucky to get in here. And SLU was just always, again, like Sierra said, they'd be lucky to have you. And I think that this community here at SLU is just so accepting and so much for the student that you can reach out to anyone on campus and just kind of find somebody to help you and to like be someone there for you, like for your 4 years here. And for me, going into like an engineering degree, obviously it's not the most like diverse field for women, at least. And so for me, I really liked SLU because I knew that within that group, I was going to be able to find people who had a lot of similarities with me, who I could always reach out to. And I really liked the faculty. So when I toured, I was able to meet like with the engineering faculty and people who were a part of like the college I was going to be with. And so I really felt that I was going to have a lot of support here. And I don't know about anybody else here, but originally SLU was like not my first choice. I thought it was like really way too close to home, and I'd grown up around the area, and so I was like, I want to get out of Missouri. I want to be a couple hours from home. I'm less than an hour from home, still in Missouri, but I can't imagine myself anywhere else. I love being able to like explore the city with my new friends, and being able to just kind of be a part of the city, not like just coming in for like a blues game and then leaving. So there's always something to do. There's always people to do things with. And I think that at SLU, a lot of us are home. And whether or not you're at SLU or somewhere else, I think that if we can help you find where you feel at home, we're doing our jobs. So yeah, that's where I'm here.
All right, amazing. So first of all, thank you all so much for joining us today. And thank you to our 3 lovely ambassadors for being our panelists. Like I kind of hinted at earlier, if you enjoyed this, we're going to have another admitted student panel on March 6th. So about exactly a month from today. And the theme for that panel is going to be academic success. So if you have questions about academics that you want to get answered, make sure to join us on that day. But like I said, thank you all so much for coming, and we hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. See you all later.